So our agenda for today is we're going to have an introduction of our sponsor and our project management office, an introduction of our functional leads and our Change Champion network. We're going to cover the questions that's been submitted, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions. I'll come back to the timeline in just 1 second. So our sponsors are Jason Dang, he's our project sponsor, and Lindsay Robinson is our project management office. Our functional leads for the OC&T team is Brenda Meyer, myself, Diana Winters-Lewis, Todd Glass, and Amanda Woods. Our executive director for HR is Travis Bowman and Jen Gilbert. Jen Gilbert is also the compensation. Jen Hood is for recruiting. Robin Moritz is for payroll, absence, time tracking, and benefits. Beverly Hill is for performance. Gulazar Baxon is finance. Teresa Collins, customer accounts. Lindsay Gilbert, business assets. Jenny Lewis, expenses, procurement, and supplier accounts. Lindsay Gilbert, grants. Violet Westrick, budget. Ray Starr and John Hickson for banking and settlement. Michael Hyatt, Amanda Woods, testing. Laquita Dees, data validation and conversion. Evelyn Samuel, reports. Alan Kearney, integration. And Amy Sagesley, IT architect. Our Change Champion network. This is a picture of some of our Change Champion networks. This group assists with Workday questions, helping you to embrace change, the change of moving to the future and being environmentally friendly by doing everything online. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jason and Lindsay to talk a little bit more about Workday.
Well, first of all, good morning to everyone. I wasn't quite expecting this crowd to hear all about Workday, but I guess this is an exciting topic for everyone. I think we have some submitted questions, but first, I don't know, Lindsay, if you kind of want to just bring everyone up to speed as to where we're at with the project timeline, what phase we're in, and the activities within that phase. I think that would provide a little bit of context as to just the project in general, where we're at, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Sure. Yeah, that's easy because I live and breathe this all day, every day. So hi, everyone. Thanks for hopping on and joining us. We have a great crowd. So we're excited to answer some of your questions, to share all of this info that we have, and to make sure that you guys feel comfortable moving towards go live. So currently right now we are in our end-to-end testing phase. And we've been doing this since April 20th, and we will finish up next week. We are almost there. We had about 4,000 test scenarios that we needed to run through for finance, HCM, and payroll. And we're now down to, I think, around 800. So we are working tirelessly every day to knock out the scenarios and to take care of any issues that we see as far as configuration, routing goes, security, I mean, you name it, help text. I mean, we're just all over it. So we're in the middle of testing. That'll end next week. And once everything is signed off and past the okay from all of our subject matter experts, we will start building our next tenant called the parallel tenant the week of June 15th, 6/15. So this is something that we've done numerous times before. So Collaborative will take all of our configuration workbooks and all of the data that Laquita has pulled and our team has validated, and they will go back and build our tenant. So they'll spend about 4 weeks building our tenant. And then we'll come back in July, and starting the week of the 13th, we'll be in our parallel testing. Parallel testing is mainly focused towards payroll. We are going to be doing payroll in 2 systems at that time. The goal is to do 3 parallel payroll processings within that 8 weeks of parallel testing. So What that means is everything that happens in Banner is also going to happen in Workday. So any new hires, any changes, anything, HCM and payroll will be doing it in Banner, tracking it, and also redoing it in Workday. So Robin can make sure when she runs payroll in Banner, it matches to what she's doing in Workday. Like everything ties out and no issues. Finance, while they're working on that, finance won't have to do a whole lot with payroll. They'll like review some reports, but it's not as hands-on as in today's world. So finance will mainly be focused on their reports, really getting into the details of designing and customizing their reports because they'll understand the data a little bit more by that time. And they'll also be working on some of their integrations, understanding the integrations in that flow because we will be running Banner and Workday parallel for a period of time. So we have some integrations in between the two systems. So everything's updated. And then we're really just fine tuning training pieces. So when August rolls around and we bring out our tenant for you guys to jump in and play around in and learn, you guys will feel confident. So we'll start those activities in August, the user acceptance testing and user in sessions with training, like remote trainings, virtual trainings, help text, aids, everything. And then we'll start our gold build, our very final and last build in September, the very beginning of September. And that's going to be a pretty stressful time for us because that's when we want all of our data to be as accurate as possible. All of our processes are completely taken care of and closest to perfect as we're going to get them. And then our reports are working well. So it's going to be pretty stressful to get all that tied out. Plus the start of the semester and everything that comes with that with the fall. So anyway, that's really what we have on our plates moving forward. We're just ending our end-to-end section right now. So we are actually looking forward to signing off end-to-end and moving forward. It's been pretty busy for us. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, all day, every day, we're running scenarios and doing regular work jobs and training in Workday on processes. So it's been pretty hefty, but everyone's had positive attitudes and very supportive of each other. And honestly, that makes the biggest difference. If the team wasn't engaged or supportive of each other, there's no way we could do this. So I just want to say kudos to our team and to the rest of the NWACC family for supporting us because we certainly appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I'll echo that. This is a monumental task that people are in right now of building out the systems, reimagining processes, testing every single scenario that could ever exist, and providing feedback into that, what's working, what's not working. It's a beast of where we're at in this phase, but it's also really critical that they stay engaged. And it is so. It's so cool to be on some of these calls. Sort of early on, I was on a lot of the calls where I would sort of be a fly in the wall and just listen to everybody as they were working through those scenarios. And it is simply amazing how excited people are about some of the potential that exists within Workday. We're really excited to show everybody. Now, with that said, we'll dive, I guess, right into questions. I'm not sure exactly how we want to do this. I can read the questions aloud. There will be a lot of interaction from our subject matter experts as well. And if there's anything that anyone else would like to add to anything, just feel free to jump in. We did receive close to 20 questions, so we'll try to spend enough time covering those to answer the question, but not dwell on any one or two questions. So the first question was, how will Workday eventually intersect with My NWACC? Will it replace it or just be another link found within My NWACC connection? And this is a really great question. It gets to kind of at the heart of why we wanted to do the Workday project. We were finding ourselves with a number of disparate systems that were all bound together by My NWACC connection. In other words, you went to My NWACC to get to Canvas, to get to email, to get to all of Banner, to Argos, to all of the things that we have. And we'll still have a need for that, I think, going into the future, because, what Workday won't necessarily do is it's not a learning management system. In other words, it's not Canvas, and we never anticipate that occurring. But we'll always need a point where we launch off into other things. The other piece about My NWACC Connection or My NWACC is around the authentication piece. So Workday will leverage the authentication. So same single sign-on that we enjoy for all of our other applications will be a part of Workday. Now, one thing that's almost guaranteed is the functionality held within My NWACC will certainly change. Today, we use it as a repository for things like forms, paper-based forms that you fill out and scan and do whatever, or walk them around, those sorts of things. The goal in a lot of these conversations has been around, how do we automate these processes? How do we just create a workflow that a user initiates and routes appropriately through the steps and then happens, right? So you don't have to print off a form on the K drive or My NWACC so that someone can take action on that. Great question, though. Now, this is an interesting question. Number 2. Because Workday has a mobile app, will staff be expected to be, quote unquote, on call 24/7? And for this, I think Jen Gilbert and the HCM crew is really best suited to answer that.
Hi, this is Jen. No, that does not mean you need to be on call 24/7. You just have access to things in the app, which make it a lot easier. Instead of having to log into your computer, it's just more accessible. But no, you do not have to be on call 24/7. And we don't want you to be on call 24/7.
Yeah, and as we think about the app, certainly is going to be value within the app for our end users. Things like requesting time off, other things like when you're traveling, being able to snap a picture of your receipt and attach that to your expense report for reimbursement. Those functionalities will extend what we're capable of doing today. But then thinking about this moving forward, the mobile app, as it relates to the second phase of this, the student project, is one thing that really excites me, because that's where the students, that's where they want that functionality built right into an app. So the ability to do push notifications, to have them complete tasks within the app, whether it's enrolling through or registration, whatever the case may be. But it's a great question, and certainly the answer is no for being on call. What portion of the Workday will eliminate the most physical paper from our current NWACC processes? And I love the follow-up to this. Can we ensure that no one on campus will ever tape a receipt to a piece of paper again? I am happy to help in this campaign. So Jen Gilbert, since you just answered another one, this would be a good one for you, as well as Jenny Lewis.
Hi, so this is Jen Gilbert again. So some of the things that are going to be eliminated from paper, any updates that an employee would need to make to their address or their federal and state withholdings, that'll all be accessible through Workday now, so you don't have to fill out a form or anything. Same with direct deposit, it'll all be available online. And with the recruiting process, it'll be a lot less paper, which is going to be such a relief for everyone hiring and for us, since we don't have a ton of paper. And if anyone else on the HCM team wants to hop in on a process that's going to be more automated, let me know. But those are some that I could think of off the top of my head right now. But there's just a lot more functionality in Workday that lets us eliminate paper, which I think is going to be a good thing for all of us. It can be hard to just track a sheet of paper with information on it.
Yeah, and I'll sort of jump into, think about today, the way we manage benefits. If you've been at NWACC since you've had a child or something like that, you kind of just know how difficult that process is in getting them as a beneficiary or as a setting up within health insurance, those sorts of things. So all the benefit elections, changing beneficiaries, all of those things are available right in Workday.
Yeah,
They are. Is that Robin? Is Robin on the call?
Yeah,
I think she's doing. Okay, good. Yeah, please talk about benefits, because I did one of these tests just earlier this week where I went in and changed my benefit elections, and it was just beautiful. Like one screen, you click a box, update my health, then go to dental, and then vision, and it was so easy peasy. But Robin, please talk a little bit about that, because I know you're proud.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The benefits part of it is going to be so incredibly more streamlined for new hires, and for if you need to make changes for a qualifying event. If you get married, have children, whatever, all of that, you're going to go right online and make your changes. There's no more, where do I get the forms and what do I have to do? You can attach all your documents right there in the process. And then for open enrollment, instead of, oh gosh, it's open enrollment, I got to make sure I get the flexible spending account form, all of that, or I have to remember that I need to change this. It's all going to be right online. You're going to get a notification, hey, open enrollment has started. You'll go through all completely online and complete your open enrollment, and we'll have the ability to gently nudge you, people who haven't done it yet, hey, don't forget to do your open enrollment. So that part of it, I'm super, super excited about.
And I know Jenny Lewis would like to touch on expenses and TR1s and any of those employee reimbursements. Can you kind of shed some light what it's going to look like in the future for us, Jenny?
It also should be paperless. This is Jenny. So we're definitely really looking forward to that, where you're just going to be able to take a picture of your receipts or your spend authorizations, your expense reports. You know, it's I'm just really looking forward to how clean it's going to be.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the goal. Justifications to fill. We have that paper form that we pass around, and it gets lost all the time. That will be electronic. So when you want to fill a position or request a new one that you need to hire for, you can do it all within Workday, and it gets kicked off, and then you can see the whole entire flow of where it's at, and then get notifications as soon as it's been posted and when people have applied. So you can review applicants, and if you don't like them, you can just disposition them is what we call it, and it happens automatically. So it's not like you have to wait and review people and disposition them after the position's been closed and you're ready to do the interviews and the evaluations. Like, you can actually be working on this like throughout the whole entire process of your job being posted out online. So it just definitely speeds up things a little bit more for us, but it's all right there. So they've done a lot of work over there in recruiting. So I think you guys are going to be very happy with it. Okay.
The next question is, will this phase include the student side of NWACC? That's a great question, and one that we hear fairly often. We broke this out into two distinct phases. One is phase one, phase two, the first one being HCM, or all of the HR components, human capital management, payroll, and finance. And then the second phase is all things on the student side. This is the process that you kind of have to go through with Workday. The foundational components of finance in particular, in order to do student, you need the finance piece. And at the same time, it makes sense for you to do payroll. It makes sense for you to do HCM in that single phase. The second phase of this will include the student implementation. Now, one thing I'll talk a little bit about, just how this is different. We go live with HCM, payroll, and finance in October, and it's considered a big bang approach, where we have all three of those things and all of the functionality within that going live at the same time. The student project is much different. There are individual components with it. I think there are 12 sort of stages, and there are many projects that you iterate through and go live with those components as you're ready for them. So it's considered a very agile approach to a deployment. The first phase will end up taking about a year, and the second phase of this, all in, will be about 2 years in length. Lindsay, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that question.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, you said it perfectly.
Great. Well, the next one, Lindsay, I think you can answer. How is Workday updated?
Okay, so this is really exciting. So Workday, everyone's on the same version of Workday across the board, no matter what. There's not all of these different versions with long number strings, and it's updated twice a year, and they do one in September and another in March, and it will be the second Saturday of September and the second Saturday of March. And so what happens is Workday will say, okay, we're going to do an update, and here are all of the pieces that will be updated. We will get to review it, see what pertains to us, test those out in what's called a sandbox environment, see if there's any tweaks we need to make. And then when they do their updates, it happens Friday night, very early Saturday morning. So Friday night into Saturday morning, about 4-6 hours in the middle of the night when we're all sleeping, and then boom, you can log back in. So you won't hear like IT sending out emails with Workday's down, I've got to do this. Workday's down, we got to do that, we got to do a patch, we got to do an upgrade. They're going to do it all for us, and it happens twice a year, September and March. And so takes quite a bit of that headache piece out of us, since we won't be impacted as far as like our workdays go.
Lindsay, and it will be a pick and choose, is that right? So we can choose what function we need to use and what function is not suitable for us.
Right.
Yeah, they leave the functionality off by default. Anything that's brand new coming in by default until we have the ability to test it and turn it on. But this is really nice from the perspective of there's a continuous stream of innovation. These updates as they occur introduce a significant amount of functionality. So they're always evolving this product with brand new functions. Now, the other thing kind of about little patches and updates, Workday also does weekly patches to the system. And so those occur Friday night, I think at 11 o'clock or something like that, where if there's a bug in the software, they're fixing those things. So every single week they're doing bug fixes. Lindsay mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. This is for every customer, right? So this is the schedule. They do the bug fixes. They fix it once, and it's fixed for everybody. So that means all of the higher ed, that means all of industry, that's Walmart, that's everybody. We're all in the same version at any given time. And same thing goes with patches. So we don't have to, kind of figure out the best time to put these patches in. They get introduced.
Thank you.
All right, next question. What will disappear once once Workday is fully implemented? For example, I heard Success Planner will no longer be used. Another great question. There will be a number of things that will start to disappear. What's kind of interesting about this is around timing. So you won't see a lot of things disappear in the first phase. The big thing that will go away in phase one will be people admin. People admin's the system where we do evaluations, where we do hires, all of those components within HR or HCM. That system will go away. We will maintain all of the other systems through phase two. So in other words, we're still going to need a reporting system. We're still going to need Banner. We're still going to need Success Planner. We're still going to need self-service, all of those components will continue through. Once we get to a point where we're on the other side of this, Banner, the administrative application, certainly will go away. The self-service component obviously goes away with that. The reporting is built right into Workday. So Argos goes away. Another system called Form Fusion goes away. IntelliCheck goes away. Let's see.
Yeah, Jake, this is Robin. I was going to say, just specifically with regard to self-service, that means web time entry goes away.
Web time entry goes away, yes.
Right.
Thank goodness. Starfish is one of those things that we're actively looking at right now. Starfish, the functionality within it certainly is available within Workday. We want to make sure that it meets all of the needs. There's certainly a lot of benefit of having that as a single system where we can use all sorts of data. We can, raise flags and then have that within a single system. There is a lot of value in that. There's a group looking at that right now. How do we leverage Success Planner in a different way, over the next couple of years? But then what does that look like beyond? So Eric Vest, I know, is leading that along with Dr. Slavic, and I think their work has already started, in particular with Success Planner. Did I miss anything else? I feel like there's a whole lot of other systems that we're going to be getting rid of.
I can't think of any offhand.
Extender, yes. So enterprise document management system, the plan for that will go away, because all of that is held within the flow of Workday. Just thought of another one.
Jason, someone mentioned DegreeWorks.
Oh, yes. Yep, exactly. DegreeWorks, because all that functionality is held within a single system. So DegreeWorks goes away.
People admin, did you mention it?
People admin goes away, yep, and that'll be phase 1. I think that's it.
Jason, I'm sorry, but I think Wally raised his hand. Maybe he has a question also.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so it goes back to the justifications to fill that you had talked about. I've heard through the grapevine that Workday is not very good at scanning resumes and cover letters and stuff, and I think Tim had submitted a question about cover letters. But when we do justifications to fill and we upload resumes and such like that, is there a functionality for it to scan it in, or are we going to have to manually enter their information in, or is it just uploaded as a Word document?
So with the justifications to fill, that's like when when we take it to cabinet and everyone approves that you can have that position and posted. So that piece of paper that we would fill out, that PDF that we would have to fill out, like, why is this important to the college? Who does this job if, the person isn't present? All of that is in Workday. So you will fill out, this is why I need to post a position. And then, of course, you have to attach, I believe, like a job description, and you just drop it right in to Workday. You can drag and drop from your desktop right into Workday, and then push submit, and it goes off to J2 and the rest of the crew to take a look at and approvals. And then you will get notified as things are approved and when your position gets posted. But I think it's a good segue into the next question about, or another question that we had about people filling out online applications and uploading like their resume and different documents along with that. And J2, I don't think she's on the call right now, but she did say that, yeah, you can attach documents whenever you're submitting an application. But what's even cooler is once you upload your resume, you can have it parsed out. So if you're applying to a job at NWACC and you upload your resume, Workday will take all of that information like, your previous work experience, dates, all of that stuff, and go ahead and parse it out into the application for you. We've been testing this over the last several weeks, and everything's working great. I think, of course, based on some individuals' resumes and the formatting, I think it does get a little wonky as far as what Workday and any system could do to piece together where it goes in the form. But it's definitely a much better option than what we currently have, and much smoother as well.
Yeah, and same goes for receipts. I scanned a receipt. I was working through a test of the system, and it'll actually parse out totals. It'll parse out the dates and pre-populate that on the expense form. So as a prospective employee is applying for a job, they submit their resume. It does the same thing where it parses out that information and puts it right into our standard application.
Okay, and Jen answered the other question. There was a question about the faculty rating sheet that we have to fill out anytime we hire new faculty. And she said that can be electronic attached, but not necessarily a scanned document. So that one would still have to be filled out manually and not entered into Workday and then just attached, correct?
Yeah, so that document is still going to require review and signature in order to have their placement approved, because then that kind of leads into the way that their position is set up in Workday. So that's still an additional step when hiring a faculty. But yes, it doesn't have to be the scanned document. The electronic version of the document works because we'll still be reviewing it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see. I think we've answered this one, but I'll just make sure that for full transparency that I ask it. What is included in phase 1 and phase 2? I think we adequately addressed that. What are new things that faculty will now be able to do in Workday? Maybe Jen Gilbert, Jenny Lewis.
I think they'll be able to do requisitions. It's not locked down anymore. Like if you work here, you can do a requisition now. So that's nice.
This is Janet. I'm going to jump in real quick. Just like all employees, like staff, they can still go in and change their personal information, look at the org chart, do all those kinds of things. All employees will have access to do that, not just staff, but faculty as well.
Yeah, and within the org chart, there's certainly the directory where you can search for people and single click if you're on your mobile device, single click call them because it'll have their telephone number in there, their office telephone number. All the functionality of a directory is all integrated as well.
Hey, this is Robin. One other thing too is faculty will now be able to request their time off within the system instead of having to do paper forms. So the request and approval for those will be electronic now.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Amazing.
I know that Beverly Hill has also been working on the faculty evaluation piece. To have that within Workday. She's been working with the evaluation committee.
Hey, Jason.
With that, yeah.
This is Bev. That's actually like on hold. It's turned into a bigger project, so I'm not sure when Sarah's going to try to get with the faculty evaluation committee. But there's some processes that won't work. And she's going to have to go back and rebuild.
Okay, I take that back then.
Yeah, I just wanted
to that from the record.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks for the update, Bev.
You're welcome.
When submitting an application for employment with NWACC, does Workday offer the option of submitting a cover letter along with other documents? I think we talked about that. Certainly the answer is yes. I don't know if there's additional input from the HCM crew about that or additional details. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next.
Hey, Jason, this is J2 or Jennifer.
Hey,
Good morning, everyone. So Lindsay already answered that question, but applicants will have the opportunity to upload cover letter, resumes, transcripts, and then again, they will have the option to parse as well. So it just sort of streamlines that process and makes it easier for applicants.
Super,
So
thank you.
Jen, if the applicant is applying for several positions, do they need to apply separately and attach their resume for each position, or just they have to open a profile and then they submit their application for each position?
Yeah, so they will actually have to do that for each position that they apply for. And if you're internal, when you go to apply, it'll be the same process too. But once you have that uploaded in your profile, your resume, once you go to apply for a new position, it will already be held into your profile. So it will automatically upload for each position that you apply to. But you will have the option to edit that and make changes if you need to do that as well.
Okay, so you do your profile one time and then you apply it for several positions.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question. Will Workday have the capability to allow for e-signatures on documents both internal and external in nature? And I think there was a question in the chat from Ray about this exact same thing. So Workday doesn't have e-signatures built into it. There are certainly situations where we would require a signature, electronic signature, to be there. We did pass a policy that sort of states authentication is one way of verifying identity throughout a process. So benefit elections is an example of that. By the nature of you logging into the system and authenticating, we know that that's you, right? So having a signature associated with a form on that isn't necessarily needed. There are situations, however, from a regulatory perspective, that having an electronic signature is a requirement, both internal and external. And so we're working with a couple of different vendors right now in terms of evaluation of what this would look like short term, given all of the COVID-19 stuff, but then tying all of that into Workday into the future. So the flow of a process, you would never leave Workday to jump out to another system, but the electronic signature piece of it would be integrated right into that flow. So it's a seamless process for allowing electronic signature. Similarly, if we had parents needed to sign something, stuff like that, it could extend out beyond that and then dump the information right back into Workday. Next question is, are we going to be running both systems for a period of time, and how is that transition going to work? I guess I can talk about this one a little bit. Certainly the answer is yes. As we break these out into individual phases, we'll have Banner up and running for some components. We will have Workday for others. And these systems work together, right? So a student signs up for a class within Banner, within self-service. The charges get applied to their account, which will still be in Banner. They pay that money, and all of the accounting occurs within Workday. So there are integrations that exist. Some of those integrations will be what we call throwaway integrations. So when student comes over into Workday, then we will no longer need those feeds into Banner. And similarly, coming out of Banner back into Workday, we'll throw those away. And as we go through the second phase of this, we will have more of those, right? So when we have individual bits of functionality that we're bringing into Workday, we'll still need to publish information back out to Banner and vice versa. So we will certainly manage those. The good news is any ERP migration that you do would involve these integrations and running both systems for a period of time. There's no real way of getting around that unless we want to shut down the institution for a couple of years while we redo everything. So this is a perfect question. Dr. Jorgensen says this is very much like we're changing the tire on a car as we're driving down the interstate. This is kind of what we're doing right now. Lindsay, I'm not sure if you have any additional thoughts about that question.
No, we will be running both systems, but as far as right now, going live 10/5. So just think of it this way: anything on the student side, even student account side, all of that is handled in Banner, and so they'll register, pay. You'll still do everything in Safarjify and Safe Regs and all of that. All of those forms, but instead of the nightly cron running every night where everything that happens during the day gets posted to finance at nighttime, instead of that happening, that cron piece will go and post into Workday, and then the accounts receivable office will go and make sure that everything balances in Workday that came in on the Banner side, and make sure everything ties out appropriately. So, and as far as like new hires and everything goes, everything is in Workday. So everything starts off in Workday, and then we just feed some information to Banner. So if you have to lock in your courses, you're still going to do that in Banner. But when you apply for a job, you do all of that within Workday. So there's a few pieces like that. But other than that, I think it'll be pretty easy. You guys won't even notice it.
Perfect. The next one's a really interesting question, and one that whoever posted it, I want to give you a high five for thinking this way. Will Workday integrate with SharePoint, OneDrive, or Teams, and how will that look and work? Workday has extensive integrations to various systems. And the one that I was telling Lindsay about, and I haven't told a whole lot of other people about, is a Workday integration into Teams. Workday is always looking for these opportunities to integrate itself into the business practices of an institution or an organization. And as we think about how we function today and how different that is from 6 months ago relative to Teams and the collaboration that occurs within that, they've developed an integration directly into Teams. And so what this kind of looks like is I can chat with Workday. I can actually open up a chat window and collaborate with my robot on the other end at Workday. I can ask things like, what's my vacation balance? And it'll go in and it'll find that information for me. We think about, the potential for this with students. When does open enrollment start, or when does the semester start? When can I register for classes? How many seats are available in this course? It can go out and find that information using artificial intelligence and answer those questions. It's really cool, and it's a much different way of thinking about how we work than opening up Safe Regs and Safarjify whatever forms within Banner. Will paper requisitions finally be a thing of the past? Jenny Lewis, this is a softball one for you.
Yeah, they're going. Everybody remembers the terrible process where you can only submit things for your own cost center, and you have to be in a magical screen called FOMPROF that only Heidi Migliori knows about. And then if you want to spend from somebody else's cost center, you have to do this weird dance and call a lot of people, and somebody has to shake a rain stick. Like, it's terrible. But now with Workday, we won't have that anymore. You can submit to any cost center, and it's up to that cost center manager whether or not to give you the thumbs up or the terrifying thumbs down.
as a side note, if you ever get the chance to be on one of these calls with Jenny Lewis, you will laugh nonstop because she's just absolutely hilarious. Even on really dry stuff, she can somehow make it funny. Next question, will Workday fix or sync seeming lags or disconnects between the cashier's office and the registrar enrollment services? I asked this because I registered for a class. The summer class started. I did not receive notification and or my bill in the email. I never registered for a class at NWACC, but expected some kind of confirmation or bill. Before the class showed up on my Canvas, I received a drop for non-payment notice. That drop for non-payment was my first communication concerning registering for classes. According to the cashier's office, it was bad timing and the system dropped me, but I feel like there has to be something that can be done about this. I think the confirmation emails and next steps would be very reassuring to new students no matter when they register. So is there any way that Workday will make this process more user-friendly?
Yes. Okay, so Workday, as soon as something happens, it's like updated across the system, like it's updated. We don't have to do something here, wait for a process to run at nighttime in order for you to get your bill or for you to get a notification confirmation that yes, you are registered and here are your charges. Do I know exactly what that will look like right now? No, that's phase 2, that's student. But I do know from the conversations that I've had with Workday and others that when you register, it's boom, like all of the information is there, and there's the whole shopping cart experience. So if you're shopping for classes and you register for them, you have to check out with your shopping cart in order to actually solidify, okay, these are my classes. So that's different than what we have today. It will be a much easier and more beautiful interface versus what we have today, quite honestly.
Jason, this is Janet. We're at the 11-minute mark.
Oh, thank you. Let's see, another one, good one for Lindsay. With Workday, will we finally be able to accept credit card payments for courses, registration, deposits, etc.?
So Workday is not PCI compliant, which means that they cannot accept credit card payments because they cannot ensure that they are able to make sure everyone's info is secure. So like what we have today, where we have TouchNet accepting payments for us, processing those payments for us, Workday, as it stands now, they will require an integration with some sort of payment processing company like TouchNet or CashNet in order for us to accept and take payments for classes. So that's that.
When will the student implementation begin, and will it be handled by the same group doing phase 1? In some ways, the student implementation has already begun, in that we're starting to do some initial planning so that we can do the request for proposals for implementation providers. Because we didn't want to be committed to the same implementation provider for both phases, we decided it would be best that we do an RFP for phase 1, take a step back, and then do an RFP for phase 2. That way we can, if we have an out, right? If our phase 1 implementation providers weren't meeting our needs, we didn't work with them well enough, whatever the case may be, we would have the opportunity to make a change in the middle of that between phases. So the first part of that is to do what's called the LEF, or the Life Cycle Engagement Framework. And the LEF is a series of questions that would help them give, put some shape around what phase 2 implementation looks like. So it's a number of questions that are asked of us, mostly quantify the number of whatevers you have. What do you have these types of programs? Etc. So they can begin to put a proposal around that. So that work is already started. And then when we get back In August, we'll have the RFP evaluation piece for that, name the implementation provider, and then likely dive into the heavy lifting of this in January timeframe. It's a little bit difficult to manage both projects at the same time, and they certainly don't recommend just diving right into the second phase of this. So we're just getting ready in October to do a massive rollout to everyone, make sure everyone's trained. We know that as hard as we're working today, that we will have some things that we'll need to fix when we go live. That's going to happen. And so we want to be able to support what we've just deployed. So we'll have what's kind of called a cooling off period in some ways. And then we'll dive right into phase two. Phase two will have some of the same people in it relative to project management. Todd Glass and Lindsay will be key players in this, and a lot of the same IT resources will be the same. However, obviously our subject matter experts who drive a lot of the conversation will be different. And so we'll be engaging all of those subject matter experts to provide their expertise about processes, about how things need to look, and kind of what our future is going to be. Don't just tell us about what we've always done, but kind of reimagine all of our processes throughout that. I imagine our OC&T team will by and large remain the same, organizational change and training team. They have done an absolutely outstanding job throughout this process. And you'll start seeing some of those things sort of more out in the open as we go further in through the project. Lindsay, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you gave a pretty good overview of what to expect moving forward with the group and everything. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, the HCM payroll and finance have set some very high standards as far as work ethic and just overall just go get 'em attitudes. They're like a big group of hard chargers. So yeah, they're going to hand you a big stick over, that big rain stick Jenny was talking about earlier, for you guys just to take off running. And so we'll be excited to pass the baton.
I think, are these all the questions that have been asked that were asked ahead of time? I'm at the end of my list here, and I know that Al wanted a couple minutes here to finish this out. But I think we probably have time for a couple more questions if there were some. I haven't been following the chat, so maybe there's some questions already in there, or
Yes.
if you'd like to raise your hand to ask a question, that would be good too.
Yes, this is Janet, and there are a couple of questions. How will tuition waivers be handled in Workday?
Beverly, is that a question that you would answer, or maybe Robin?
That would probably be me, since I'm currently, this is Jen, I'm currently with tuition waivers. I'm not entirely sure. What I'm thinking right now is until student is live, we won't be able to fully put tuition waivers through Workday. And so I'm guessing for now we're going to keep that form available, and I'm going to keep sending the waivers over to the treasurer's office for them to submit in Banner. And then once the student implementation begins, we'll be able to visit that and see what their process is.
Thank you, Jen. Lindsay, can you tell us on phase 2 when that might be starting and the determined or to be determined go live date for that would be?
So like Jason mentioned earlier, there's a lot of like planning and pre-activities ahead of actually kicking off phase 2, but we're hoping to kick off phase 2 January 2021 for the fall 2023 registration and courses. So you got to think about it that way. So when we start in January, we are setting everything up, applications, well, not classes at that point because we got to get through everything else, but applications, admissions, everything we're building for fall 2023.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly right. It sort of follows the life cycle of a student in a lot of ways. So as we think about, putting the foundations in place and then following the student through the recruiting process and the admissions process, financial aid, all of those sorts of things, with the end goal in mind of having them, register for courses and all of those components.
Thank you. This is Janet, and we are at the 5-minute mark, almost the 4-minute mark. I just wanted to let everybody know, thank you for attending. If you have additional questions, you can complete the form and submit them. And I will be working with Diana to put together the video of this recording, as well as any additional questions that have been submitted after the fact. You can find the link to the form in the meeting maker that you received for this particular session. And I'm going to turn it over to Al. I believe
Al, you're muted.
There you
go. Thank you. I would like to thank everybody for attending this session, and also I would like to extend my highest appreciation for the team who is working on this project, from IT to finance to HR, because they are doing, and I will say a high kudos for everyone, because especially for HR and finance and IT, everybody who's involving in this project, they are doing this implementation with all what it's necessary to be done on top of their daily work. And I can't say enough how much load they are taking to do that. Some of scenarios, they are doing thousands and thousands of scenarios. And I think Lindsay has said that they are testing different scenario, different issue, and they are doing on top of that their daily work. They are testing another system to make sure that every scenario is working for NWACC and making sure everything is ready for the end user at the perfect timing. They are preparing for training. They are preparing for everything. So the amount of and effort they are putting for this project is huge. And I really appreciate every single effort and every long hour they are doing. Some of them has been putting 60 hours of weekly work, if not more. So thank you very much for you, Jason, also, and your team, Lindsay and your team, finance, HR. Everyone has been putting a lot of efforts for this project, and we are really excited to start working on Workday and learning from you all, guys, how we are moving for our second chapter of this project. So thank you very much again, and I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, they're amazing. Amazing crew.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks, Janet. I appreciate our OC&T team putting this together. This is great. And I like seeing everybody's faces. So it was good. It was good.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Janet.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you all. Take care.